Welcome back to another episode of It's All Clutter with Jess Marcy. I'm Jess Marcy. I am a clutter coach, and I'm very excited to bring to you today another It's All Clutter conversation with the amazing Beth. Beth, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Of course.
So, Beth, the first question that I always ask is, how in the world did you end up on this podcast with me today?
Well, you've helped me so much over many, many months that, of course, I will make time to be here because it's worth it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
So what is your history with clutter? If you could go back in time to your earliest memory of clutter or stuff in your life, where would that journey take us?
Probably like high school. I was not a clean room kid, and I do remember my mom like always sort of getting on me about cleaning it up, and it was gross. Like I remember there were like orange juice glasses with some mold floating on them, and like I was just, and I don't know if that was part of being a teenager and my like way of rebelling, which I guess in the grand scheme of things, if that's how I rebel, that's not too terrible. But I do remember.
No, that doesn't sound too bad.
I do remember it, but I don't remember like clearly it bothering me. But I do remember going to a classmate's house to work on a group project, and her room was spotless. And I remember coming home and being like, oh, so then I would have like little bursts of picking it up and cleaning it, because I did find her room like very inspirational and very soothing. And I was probably 15. So I think I recognized it, but I had no clue that there was like a method to the madness, or, but that's kind of my earliest memory of it.
It's funny that you say that, because as you're talking about like your room versus your friend's room, I do think when I was growing up that my thoughts around clutter and stuff were more of like family culture, right? Different families had different ways of living in their homes. And some people picked up and were super clean freaks, and other people just didn't. And it was more family culture and less about clutter.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. And I definitely remember like seeing, she had, back in the day, I'm dating myself, it was a dual cassette. So you could like take one cassette and make a copy on another cassette. And there was like not an inch of dust on it. Like, so like there were all these buttons on the top, like fast forward, stop, play, all that. And I'm like, I looked at mine and I was like, ooh, it can look better. Okay. Yeah. It's just interesting. And I didn't feel bad about it. It was almost like an epiphany of like, oh, maybe this is what my mom means. And like, my mom was not cluttery. I mean, she had stuff, but it wasn't overly cluttered.
So it's also interesting that we're talking about clutter and cleanliness. And I think that there's like they're like a Venn diagram, right? Like there's
Yes.
So do you look at clutter and cleanliness differently now as an adult, or after going through these programs? Like has your perception about that changed at all?
I remember it changing when I was a young person, because I had a roommate and she was even messier than I was. And like your own orange juice with your own mold is one thing, but someone else's orange juice with their mold for some reason is like so offensive, which makes like that that's something to think about for sure. No, I think for me, I always like a clean house. Like I appreciate it. So for me, it wasn't that I had this like moment of like light bulb, but more I was the one that never had people in because I was embarrassed. So I was aware of it. And then I think there was negative, even subconscious self-talk, like that I was just like, oh, it's messy, I don't want to have people in. And I would just like put it to the back of my mind. But that can't be good for you after doing that for like decades,
No, that definitely is not good for you for decades.
No. So that was more my experience, that I would just not have people in. And I remember going like, I have a group of friends, we all have kids around the same time, and we are different ages. Some are younger, some are older, but we're at the same life point. And I remember going into their homes and have it being like very cluttered. And they'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. The kids are, I just couldn't get to it. And I didn't judge them at all. I was like, oh my gosh, I totally get it. But I don't know why I was so, and still it's a practice. Like I catch myself like, come on, get that picked up, or, oh, all right, I guess I didn't get that done today, but I'm like, I gotta let that go. But that's a practice. I remember being like in high school and cleaning, and my mom had this stuff in my room. It was like a set, and you kept it out because it was a set. I didn't like the set at all. Why I just didn't put it in the closet, I don't know. But I remember cleaning, and like you couldn't just dust because there was all these collectible things. I had to dust the set that I didn't like. And that was just an interesting, so that memory helped me when I was decluttering here. Like, why am I cleaning stuff that I don't even necessarily like? Let's move this stuff out.
It's like such a demotivator if you don't like the stuff that you have. Like, why do you want to maintain it then?
Yes, yes. Or like we were at a point, and we're by no means rich, where like we just didn't have a lot of money. So a lot of the stuff was free. So I was like, well, this is nice. We're going to use the stuff because we need the stuff, and it was free stuff. But now we still have some, not all of it, because I'm working on that. But I still have that mindset of like, oh, this was such a good deal. This was free. I don't really like it, but it fits the space. And that's still a work in progress. But if you were to, I've gotten rid of bags and bags and bags and trunk loads full of stuff, and I still have more to go. But if you've said to me like, well, Beth, what were some of those things in the bags? I could probably name half a dozen, maybe. Like, I don't even know what they were. Like, now that I'm a little bit on the other side, because it was so, the ramp up was so hard. And again, I'm by no means done, but it's so interesting once you get some momentum and you start to see some difference. I don't even remember what the heck I got rid of.
Oh yeah, we hear that all the time, right? Like once it's gone, I don't even think about it again, except for the rare occasion, right? Super rare occasion where you're like, oh, I just got rid of that. That almost never, compared to the amount of stuff that you get rid of, that like, regret of getting rid of something is like less than 1% of the total.
Like, I remember hearing that though, as in, first, second, third, fourth time boot camper, like boot camp so many times, and thinking like, I don't get that. Like, that's not me. I'm different than everybody else because that's not me. And like, oh my gosh, you just have to go through it and experience it. And everybody, excuse me, goes at their own rate. So
the other interesting thing that you're pointing out that I'm just thinking about now too is we overvalue both things that we got for free and things that were expensive. But if we got things for like a mid price point, right? Like a Target run price point, we like place no value on it. But it's like the free stuff, we're like, oh, can't throw it out. I got such a good deal. Or like the really expensive stuff. Oh my gosh, I can't throw it out. It was so expensive. But the value really has nothing to do with the price.
Yes. Well, one of my epiphanies with you was, because I like to think about those, like those aha moments, was like you, and I'm not going to say it as well as you did, but it was something to the effect of like holding on to something, regardless of its cost, like does not increase its value.
Right.
And if anything, it's putting more mental load into my brain when I've got other things that deserve much more attention. But it's interesting because I have a picture upstairs. It was free, but it was getting rid of it. I took it. It fits perfectly above the china cabinet, which we have nothing. We had the whole house painted because we did such a great job decluttering that we were able to have a painter come in, which was lovely. I mean, it took months, but it was great. So I'm like, well, this free thing, this free painting matches, it kind of goes with the room and it fits the space. And art can be expensive. And this is not really art. This is probably something, not that it's not art, whatever. It's something probably from, like, not IKEA, but something similar. This
like
is not
like a mass produced.
Yes, this is not a signed original by any stretch. I don't love it. My husband's like, yeah, no. And I'm like, but it goes with the room, but it fits over the space I need it. So we have it actually propped up. We haven't committed to put the nail on the wall yet. Like just to look at it. But even like hearing myself say it now, it's like, it'll sit up there, but it's probably going. But it's kind of, now I'm at the point where the process is kind of fun. Whereas before, and not that it wasn't fun, but it was like stressful and angst ridden and hard. I mean, it's still difficult, but it's, I don't know, it's kind of fun difficult, if that makes any sense.
Challenge now that you could, like, that there's like, you can do the challenge. So it's like, okay, challenge me. Like, let me see, can I do this?
And like, if I keep it, I feel like I'm really going to like it. And like, worst comes to worst, if we hang it, I'm like, nah, I'll get rid of it. It was like, get rid of it, so it's just, and the whole thing's I find it like super interesting because you can hear other people and tell their stories. Like, there was a woman who had kept all this baby food and she felt guilty throwing it away, but I think it had expired and she no longer had a baby. I don't even remember. It was somebody in the boot camp.
Oh yeah, she didn't have it was like 5 years old and it expired like 5 years ago, right?
But she felt so horrible throwing it away. And for me to look at that, I was like, oh my gosh, please throw that away. Like, that can go. But it made me look like I was a collector of vitamins. I got on one of those subscription services, which I no longer let myself do. And the vitamins just kept coming. And apparently I was not taking the vitamins. And they were kind of expensive. And some of them had expired, but they were still in the package. So I was taking them and shoving them in the back of the deep cabinet because they were expensive. And like, well, even though they were expired, maybe I'd take them. After I saw that baby food, I'm like, you know what? I got those. It was still weird. And I felt not great doing it. But after I threw those suckers away, but I was motivated by the baby food woman. Like, that was totally, I have her thing. It was just, it was manifesting in vitamins, and now I have all this room, and like, I learned my lesson. It was an expensive one. Don't get on subscription services of things you're not going to actually take or do. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to throw this out there. Subscription services, most of the stuff that you're going to bring in through that, you're not picking it out.
Yeah.
Not picking it out. It's not perfect for you. I mean, well, maybe with vitamins, they were like kind of dialed into you, but like in general, those box a month services, most of that stuff you're going to throw out because
I didn't take them. I did not take them. Like, well, it's unfortunate. And I even went through like bursts afterwards where I'm like, okay, I'm going to take them. I felt no different when I took them. I looked no different when I took them. Now they were expired. I forgot to take them half the time. I'm like, I'm throwing these things. When I saw the baby food woman, I feel like that somehow like opened a door for me to like, okay, I can do this too. If she can hold on and hope, I don't know if she ever got rid of the baby food, but I got rid of the vitamins.
I think she did. I think that's what the book was actually. She was
yeah. But I find that stuff super motivational. Like, it somehow, like, seeing someone else going through a similar challenge, even though it's just baby food, it's just vitamins. But when you multiply that by all the other things, and then I call it like the mental load of what you're carrying with all this stuff, it definitely adds up, whether I'm aware of it or not.
I think you become more aware of it after, like, as you're freeing the space and as you're freeing the time and as you're letting go of the stress and as you're letting go of the overwhelm, you're like, wow, I can't believe how stressful this was. And I was just carrying it around. It's just normal.
Yeah. And I still have stuff to do. I mean, I still have, but we finally started the basement. And I said to my husband, like, how about we just spend like literally 5 minutes? Because by the end of the day, like, he's tired, I'm tired. Unless we get up early to do it, which probably isn't going to happen. Like, let's just be realistic. But I got to say, even in 5 minutes a day, like, we haven't done it in a while. We had a little burst, but we'll get back to it. It's made a difference.
Yeah.
Like, just literally 5 minutes. And I would like his input on like, a lot of the stuff I did myself, because a lot of it was mine, or he just doesn't care. Like, he did not care. So out it went. The basement stuff, a lot of it is like shared stuff or things we had used to work on the house in the past. So I'm like, is this still good? Do you think we'll ever use, so it was helpful. It was good to have his input.
Sorry, just got a minor interruption there.
No, I know that I have my dog at the top of the steps who's whining. Like,
he's so cute.
Yeah, like, I miss you. I'm like, I've been down here 10 minutes, buddy. You're okay.
That's funny. So Beth, I am curious, as a realtor, can I say that you're a realtor? Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
As a realtor, you're in and out of homes all the time. And I used to give presentations to real estate offices because they were like, I would work with local realtors and everything. Yeah. What I would research and find out is that decluttering is the number one, like, best investment for like return on investment that you can make when you're selling your house. So can you talk a little bit about like real estate and clutter and going into like so many homes all the time and how that has maybe changed your point of view, or what do you see, like insights from the inside?
Sure. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So I've been a realtor for 20 years. I've seen a lot of houses. It's one of the first tidbits of advice. And for me, kind of the hardest advice, although it's gotten better since I've met you, was to say to people, like, pick up your stuff but not nearly that abruptly. Because I certainly don't want to offend anyone. And I get it. And a lot of folks where I live are either moving into a bigger home. Our homes are small. Like my house is like 950 square feet. So some people have, like, we only have one child, but we have a family. They have, like, in our neighborhood, there's 4 kids, and they just make it work, but it's tight. So needless to say, and their homes are old, there's a lot of stuff out. There's a lot of clutter. It's common. But one of the first things I say is like, and I've honed it over the years, because I've learned that if I'm like too like, oh, you might want to pick up a little bit, it's not enough. And like, I'm not doing them any favors. It's making it harder for me to sell their home. Because it definitely is harder to sell a home that's cluttered, because nobody wants to see that.
It's like the orange juice.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and what I say now is, you want to make your house look. I said, I'm not saying you need to go out and buy new furniture or put in a new kitchen necessarily, but like, you want to make your house look like something out of a magazine. Now, it doesn't have to be a fancy glitzy magazine. It can be a clean home magazine. It can be a, I love my couch magazine, whatever. But you don't want it to look cozy. Like, cozy for us in our own homes is lovely. But cozy, when you're trying to sell and buy a home, is not an adjective you really want, because cozy is usually someone else's blankets, someone else's like smushed up couch has like a hole in it where you nest, which is great in the winter when it's your couch and it's cold, but nobody else wants to sit in that nest. So I've said that helps. And I think it helps because I certainly don't want to come across as judgmental, and I'm not. Like, I truly don't walk in and think, ew, ick. I don't. But I do say, like, it will be hard to sell your home if there are this many things about. You want to make it look like it's a magazine, pretty much. Or you're having whatever guest you could possibly have into your home that you would want it to be like the most clean for. Imagine that guest is coming every day 2 or 3 times.
The other thing is, like, when we add a lot of extra stuff into a room, it really does reduce the living space in the room, right? So, and this is something I talk about all the time, like the percentage of storage space versus living space and all of that. But when you're buying a house, you want to see the living space. Yes. And if there's a lot of stuff, you're going to feel like there's no storage space.
Yes, so, absolutely. And clutter does take over that. And if you have it's a corner in our house. We still have yet to address it. It's not big, but it's a corner. And in the summertime, it's the fun clutter corner, because it's the pool bag, it's the carry tote with the insulation for snacks and drinks and all that. I just haven't found it. We have one tiny closet on the whole first floor. I just haven't found a spot for it yet. And when the fun clutter goes away, which it will soon, we've got like a month where the corner's clear, and then all the outside plants come in, and the outside plants, so then it's the plant corner, which, like, I can live with that, and I tell people as a realtor, like, you can have a corner, like, that's realistic, especially in these, it doesn't have to be 100%. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it can be better. And it definitely helps homes sell without question. When they're clutter free and there's not things in the corner. Or I had someone, they had mounted a TV. I forget where it was, but it was not like a place where it was in the way. Like, and there was just 2 of them. It didn't matter. They didn't care. It was convenient. So they had mounted it there. And I said gently, like, so do you think it would be possible to move the TV? And I said, I know that's kind of a pain because they're heavy and they had this wall mount and it's, and she said, we've always meant to do that, but we just never got around to it because it was just us. And I thought, isn't that interesting? Because I see that all the time in real estate, and I do it as well. It's just us. It's like we devalue that the home should be nice for us. And I still, again, it's like one of those little epiphanies and I'm still working on it. Why do I tend to get my house together before there are guests? Why do I not? So I had a slew of people through, which was really nice, just like for a day or two. So after every visit, I'm like, okay, what rooms are they going to use? And now the house is good. So we'll see if I can keep it going. I try to spend 20 minutes a day. I'm like, this doesn't need to be vacuumed, but yeah, it does. It's been a week. Run the vacuum for 5 minutes. I still have decluttering to do, but I'm trying to get into that habit. But again, to be, back as a realtor, that's the kind of thing when people are selling their homes, they have to do that I recommend they do that every day because you want people to see the home at its absolute best.
I always tell people, like, live in your house like you're going to sell it tomorrow, because
yes,
the nicest, like, that's what happens. Like, oh man, now I don't want to sell my house because I made it actually nice to live in, right?
Yes,
or I found space, I decluttered, I have all this space I never had. Beth, I also want to talk about the fact that you live in a house that's 950 square feet, because across the board, I hear from people, I don't have enough space, and they're living in like 2,000 or 3,000 square feet. But I know that it's not about having enough space. Whatever amount of space you have, you're going to fill it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, your house is practically, it's like 2 times the size of a tiny home, right? Tiny homes are like under 500 square feet, I think. Like,
yeah.
So, but you have 3 people living in a, really tiny house. But you actually have been able to declutter close to living within the storage space that you have.
And it's still a work in progress for sure. And I guess I don't think of it that way because a lot of my friends are local and we all live in these little houses. So we're all used to it. And I think a lot of what you said resonates with me. So I feel like I was also very receptive to it by the time I finally joined Clutter Boss Academy because I had done the boot camp so many times. Like I don't own 2 pairs of pants. I mean, I probably have, I don't know, I could probably clean them out again, but I mean, I might have like 10 pairs of pants and I probably, but I don't have 80 pairs of shoes. But I don't have 2, like I feel like for me, I have a reasonable amount of stuff. I think it also helps, like neither my husband or I really collect anything, or if we do, like my mom used to buy him something every year for Christmas to add to the collection. And he finally said like, okay, we're done. Like the collection's good. So when we decorate, like that never occurred to me that like the collection can be done. You don't have to keep amassing more of the thing. So we have the collection and it's a little bit bigger than we'd like, but my mom gave it all to us. So what we do, and it's my husband's thing really, we rotate it every year. Like sometimes they all come out, sometimes only a couple come out. And that's, where we are right now. But we do try to make a conscious effort that like when my drawers are full, when my closet is full, like there is no more room. So if I go shopping or I want a few more things, I need to choose something that is old or faded, or I just haven't worn, or whatever it is.
I absolutely love that you said the collection is complete. That is so key. I'm going to use that, Beth.
Go for it. It never occurred to me that was a thing. I thought a collection was just. Sorry, I got a dog, a rogue dog.
We love to have dogs on the podcast.
Yes. Well, he loves the decluttering because there's all this space.
Pets and kids appreciate space, like, and they're the first to use it.
Yeah. One of the best compliments I ever got from my husband was we were hiding the Easter basket for my daughter. Yes, she's 16 and we still do that, but that's, it's just a little family tradition. We were hiding the Easter basket and that's usually his thing, like ever since she was little. So it's Easter morning. She's still asleep. He's trying to hide it. And he's like, hun. And of course we're whispering because the house is so darn small. You can hear everything. He's like, you've decluttered all the places to hide the Easter basket. Yes, I have. It was great because usually you'd tuck it behind some stuff. And there's more floor space. There's more area. And it's easier now that I've been cleaning regularly. Like it turns out like I don't like dusting. That's just not my jam, but I'm doing it with, however, I like a dust-free environment, but I like Swiffering. Like, so the days I get to Swiffer, I'm like, look how clear my floor is. Like, yeah, there's still some stuff, but it's not nearly the headache and the rush, like if somebody was coming over, I was like all stressed out because I was planning meals, I was writing grocery lists, I was going grocery shopping, but on top of it, I was decluttering, but not well. I was throwing stuff into places where I could hide it. And then once it was away, I hadn't done that in so long that there were like inches of dust on everything. So like, no wonder I was stressed out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's incredible how clutter's like, it's the invisible stress.
And I'm still new to it. Like it's still, especially then with COVID, we weren't having people in. So it's funny though. Like I do have those habits now that I'm working on changing. Like I'll have a friend in and our little fluffy dog sheds like it's his job. And our carpet upstairs, of course, is brown and he's white, of course. So I do vacuum daily because it takes 3 minutes. But if somebody happens to stop by, I'm like, oh, hey, come on in. The first thing I do is look at that darn carpet. And I'm like, yeah, like, stop it. You're allowed to have, like.
Right.
Vacuumed an hour ago. Like, this is okay. 5 dog hairs on the carpet, is not. So, you don't want to create a monster, so to speak. But it has me trying to pay attention to my negative self-talk.
Yeah, because you have to declutter the internal and the external, right?
Yeah, it's still definitely a work in progress. I still have a storage unit. It's not horrible. We share it with somebody, and we have half, and they have half. And I mean, there's definitely room between. It's not bad, but I don't know if we can get rid of it. We're talking about it. I need to make space in the storage part of the basement first. But it's still it's a process. So
it's always a process, right? And it never really ends. It just continues to get better.
It does. And that's a good way to look at it. So instead of thinking like I remember when I did my first boot camp and I had heard sorry, really like now when I'm down here all the time. Come on, bud. I had done my first boot camp and I had heard someone on the boot camp call say like, oh, this is my second boot camp. And I'm like, second? Wait, don't we just do this and we're like done? Like, what do you, and then it was like this, a flash of overwhelming, like, oh no, like this is not going to be done in 5 days. Sorry. Come on, bud. But once I got past that, like, and I think everybody's journey is different. I think it's totally normal to experience like oh good God, like moment of like, this is so overwhelming. How in the heck am I going to do this?
Forever. And but like, we know it's going to take forever, but when we acknowledge it, we're like,
yeah. And for like 5 minutes at a time, it's ridiculous what 5 minutes a day can do. Even if you don't have it, like 20 minutes is great, but if you can't get to that, and then if you have a helper, I count that as 10 minutes because you've got 2 people.
Totally.
And it does work. You just have consistency is key, even if it's, and this sounds like an oxymoron, even if it's inconsistent consistency, like at least get back to it, So like, I'm just like, give yourself the grace of knowing that you're wiped out today, or like do one thing, like, okay, literally, like I can throw away this one thing I no longer use and be done. But like, let yourself have downtime, but just try to get back to it.
I love that. Okay, this is another good one. Inconsistent consistency is better than no consistency.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Wait, inconsistent consistency is better than consistent inconsistency.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So Beth, here's the last question that I ask on the podcast.
Okay.
And that is, what does your future hold now that you have embraced this new way of looking at the stuff in your life?
A lot. I haven't thought about that, so this is totally off the cuff, but definitely more, as on COVID willing, people into the home. Like I always liked my house, but now like I think I actually feel a little proud of it. That's a new, and I think feeling proud of it, I think subconsciously too, is feeling proud of me, which is that's only a good thing for anybody, and I don't even know if that's a thing, but I'm just surmising that that's, possible. And part of the reason I feel better, because I feel better. So like, if I feel better now, I can only assume moving forward, I'm going to continue to feel better about my house, about having people in. And that's like my daughter in a few years is going to head off to college. I hope we're the house that, and whether she goes to college or not, she'll be leaving at some point.
Right.
I hope we're the house that she brings friends back to, because we live in Baltimore and there's lots of stuff to do here. And I want people to feel welcome. And I don't have a ton of space, but we have this very small unfinished basement. And there's an extra bedroom. That's her room now, of course. You know, we can sleep a couple people. Like, come on in. If you don't mind the couch, you're welcome to use it. You know, it's nice. And the couch isn't gross and the couch isn't full of stuff. And I look forward to making new memories and continuing to be proud of my house. And then eventually when all the stuff is out, and I've started a little bit, carefully bringing in things that I actually like. Like,
Yes.
I don't even know what I like. Like the pictures, I'm like, I don't know. Does it matter if I like it? It fits the space. Like that's totally I'm working through that, and it's a process. But it might be fun. Like I had a server in the dining room. It was part of the set because of course you keep all the sets together. It was free, as is a dining room table and the chairs, because they're like older than I am. But the server didn't really hold much stuff, and stuff always ended up underneath of it. So through somebody I met in Prioritize Your Sanity on Facebook, who turns out lives like an hour away from me, found this shop that repurposes old furniture. So what I ended up doing, long story short, is she bought my wood server. Nobody buys wood furniture anymore. No, you can barely chop it up for firewood. Nobody buys it. You can barely give it away. She bought it for, I mean, not much, not nearly what I'm sure it was paid for back in the day. She bought it, and I used that money towards a credit of a new refurbished piece that was probably the same color brown, but custom painted it. And it has all this storage, and it goes where the old server was. And I love it. I love it. And it wasn't expensive. Like I had the credit from the other. I'm like, this is if you can find whatever your thing is, whether it's, I don't know, like bicycle storage or clothing storage, but you have to get rid of things first. And then
get out all the stuff that you don't love, so you can actually start to even think about what you do love.
Yes. And I learned it was nice too, because that was just in the dining room. So I didn't have to, like, I still have stuff to declutter, but it was so nice to get one thing that I really like and have one area like, hey, that area is kind of done. You know, and I'm able to bring in one piece here and there. That being able to shop and bring in one piece is such a rewarding feeling. Like you feel like you're treating yourself, but when I'm like, I'm treating myself with a server.
Right. Well, I mean, like what? Yes. You are treating yourself, but you should be treating yourself. You should.
That's the thing. Yes. Why? I am worthy.
Yes.
Yes.
You deserve that server.
Yes. Yeah. So I think like all within reason, you know, if you can kind of, and everybody's different. So there isn't any one answer, but like, if you can get a hold mentally of what your challenge is and just work, you know, maybe you work better alone. Maybe you work better with people. Maybe you only work better with one specific helper because other people are judgmental. Then forget those, you know, use the people that are good. It's definitely doable. And it almost doesn't, because I've seen so many transformations on the Prioritize Your Sanity. It's all doable, even for the people that it seems like it's not. Like, it totally is. You just have to find like your secret or and I like coming on these pages and coming on Facebook to see it's so inspirational and like not at all competitive. Like only here can you post your picture of your, like my living room full, my table piled high. And within an hour you have like 17 responses of like, good luck, you can do this. Maybe you could try this, or like, you know, no judgment at all, which has been, for me, that's really what was it was the support I didn't know I needed.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Your community crushes clutter. I mean, that's totally true. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, Beth, I have to say thank you so much. It's been really, really fun talking to you.
Yeah,
I feel
good to see you.
A long like journey together. Boot camp, you know.
Yep.
But it's been
But I
so
still
nice.
love the boot camps. I still love the boot camps. Yeah.
Well, there's another one coming up. So
Excellent. I'll be there.
the boot camps are so much fun. I do think that they're like a special motivational week. And if you haven't done a boot camp and you're listening to this, do the next boot camp. It's only $8. I mean, really, you have nothing to lose except for all the garbage in your house. I mean,
it's great. It's absolutely
stuff
great.
in your house.
Yes. Yeah. And for me, it was the springboard that I needed to go to Clutter Boss. I just needed to do the springboard a couple times.
Yeah, that's your journey, right? And that's like whatever your journey is, that's what we support.
And I love the idea of going back to a boot camp even now, but now I also have the support of CBA. So which is a whole other level of support, which is but I didn't know that 12 months ago,
Well, I mean, boot camp is really, even though it's all clutter and we support all the different types of clutter in your house, boot camp, we start with the tangible, right? What can we physically touch and take out and start to move? And then when you're ready for the intangible, the negative self-talk, the, better eating habits, better sleeping habits, the support around everything else, then that's what CBA is there for, right? But I think starting with the tangible stuff is just the easiest way to dive into helping yourself in the long run, right? With everything.
I totally agree. Agree.
Yeah. Well, thank you
so much,
Beth. If you're watching this, make sure that you like and subscribe, leave a review, do whatever you need to do. Let Beth know how much you loved her interview and how awesome she is and how you're so inspired that she lives in 950 square feet. Thank you again, Beth. Have a great day.
Thank you too. Bye, Jess.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.